Hello and welcome back to a kinda sad video. Today we are going to talk about the Iconoclast. If you didn't know, Iconoclast was a neo-nationalist YouTube channel. And I liked his videos, okay? He had great videos and I was a fan of him, okay? He was one of my favorite YouTube channels, okay? I'm not a neo-nationalist myself. Um, Look, he's a neo-nationalist, alright? And he was banned for neo-nationalism. And what many people don't understand is that neo-nationalism is not the same as neo-fascism or fascism or even ethno-nationalism. Yeah, I'm pretty saddened that at this point he even got doxxed by The Guardian, okay? So, I just want to defend him in this video by explaining what neo-nationalism is to you guys and national conservatism, stuff like that. Okay, anyway, I'll just do a defense. Also guys, I don't know how you could help, but if you can, please help the Iconoclast get his channel back and just help him in general. I mean, like, he got doxxed by the Guardian and now his entire family, which has nothing to do with his YouTube channel, is being under attack. I didn't notice this until now because, well, I just didn't notice it. Well, I don't even look at my YouTube notifications, so, but I wanted to watch the Iconoclast now, since he didn't upload for like a month or two, maybe longer, and yeah, I couldn't see him on YouTube because his YouTube account was deleted. Even his, what is it called, his BitChute got deleted, and his Facebook and so on. He is completely gone from the internet, and this is very saddening, okay? Anyway, so in this video, we are just gonna talk about neo-nationalism and national conservatism. You know, for example, Marine Le Pen is a neo-nationalist, Nigel Farage is a Wait, did I say neo-fascist? I meant neo-nationalist, okay? Marine Le Pen is a neo-nationalist. Nigel Farage is a neo-nationalist. It's, all those right-wing populists, right? But not all are neo-nationalists, right? Because some are just national conservatives, like, Donald Trump, for example, and Viktor Orban, right? Anyway, now let's just start. Anyway, what do nationalists fight against the most, and who are they? Before we even start talking about nationalism, we have to make it clear that there are different nationalist ideologies. We will go through each of them, though we will mainly focus on neo-nationalists, aka anti-globalist nationalists, mainly Eurosceptics such as Nigel Farage. I will use the term neo-nationalist, which is used by the media to describe anti-globalist nationalist, only so I can keep things short. What is nationalism? Nationalism, at least the regular form of nationalism, is a person's belief that his country should be independent. One of the most famous examples of nationalism was nationalism in the Balkans during the 19th century, where a lot of nationalities which used to be part of the Ottoman Empire rose up in the Balkans, such as Greeks, Bulgarians, Serbs, Romans, etc. Okay, isn't nationalism about one's race being superior, racism, ethnic cleansing, and 100% ethnically, racially pure nation? No, that is more closely linked to more extremist ideologies, such as fascism, neo-fascism, ethno-nationalism, and so on. There are many forms of nationalism, but ideologies which hold these kinds of beliefs are the more extremist versions of nationalism. We will talk about the anti-immigration policies of some nationalists, and about the political views of other nationalist ideologies later. What do modern nationalists advocate for? By modern nationalists, I mean neo-nationalists. Let us go through what they want one by one. 1. Anti-globalism. Before we even start talking about anti-globalism or why neo-nationalists advocate for anti-globalism, we need to understand what globalism even is. Globalism is wanting a united world government between countries. In some cases, it only advocates for a united regional government, like a united European government. Some globalists want a united world government. Globalism in some cases can also mean neoliberal free trade, meaning open borders, which allows completely unrestricted trade between nations. Let us talk about why neo-nationalists generally oppose globalism. First of all, they do not want to lose their national sovereignty. That's why they do not want a united EU country. Neo-nationalists also think that this multicultural globalism will destroy their cultures and traditions. But why do they not want neoliberal trade? That's because they are protectionist. What is protectionism? Protectionism is the trade policy in which the number one focus of trade diplomacy by the state should be to secure domestic industries and only making economic deals and trade deals when it benefits the nation, with high tariffs usually being a hallmark of protectionist policies as it discourages foreign companies from coming there, thus securing domestic industry. It does not wish to end out trade with other nations, only limit it and only practice it when it is beneficial. When do neo-nationalists want protectionism? That's because why do neo-nationalists want protectionism? That's because neo-nationalists are inherently opposed to this modern neoliberal definition of free trade, it being completely unrestricted trade between nations and open borders, as it is directly opposed to the premise of nationalism, it being maintaining or creating the national and political sovereignty of a nation or people. Economic sovereignty is heavily linked to political national sovereignty, as having another nation dominate your economy restricts the amount of decisions your nation can make unhindered and binds it to a foreign power, thus significantly reducing the sovereignty of a nation. Neoliberal free trade seeks to completely undermine this notion by forcing nations to trade with one another at all costs, even if the people of a nation do not benefit from it or are even harmed by it. Neoliberal free trade in neo-nationalist eyes harms the domestic industry and economy of a nation by allowing foreign goods to flood into the market, creating a huge bubble of competition which can absolutely ravage domestic industry and force the nation to allow in foreign companies to fix the damage, thus severely limiting, if not completely negating, the economic independence of a nation. Also, nearly all regular nationalists are protectionists too. For these reasons, neo-nationalists are protectionist. 2. Anti-immigration. Immigration is something what not just neo-nationals oppose, but also neo-national conservatives. When most people left of national conservatism hear about anyone being anti-immigration, they instantly think of xenophobia and racism, but that's not how neo-nationals define their version of anti-immigration. First of all, neo-nationalists oppose illegal immigration for safety reasons, but neo-nationals also hate sometimes of legal immigration. Marine Le Pen once said, like Calais, where I visited recently, shows the damaging effects of uncontrolled immigration and the lack of government. It is an eloquent example. The French are no longer able to cope with massive legal and illegal immigration, because the migrant crisis gets progressively worse and worse, and as racial tensions increase due to the influx of migrants, the response by neo-nationals also gets progressively harsher as they seek to conserve. Anti-immigration is thus simply a means for the mainstream neo-nationals to conserve the system, cultures, the traditions, and national identities, and does not build off fear-mongering and hatred of the migrants themselves, rather of the consequence they bring, thus defaulting it to not xenophobia, but a resentment towards European Union acts and policies to radically change the status quo, which in their eyes will not just damage the system which they seek to conserve, but also damage their culture, tradition, and national identity. In other words, neo-nationals simply believe that Islam and non-European, non-Western traditions do not belong to Europe. That's because it's a different culture. Neo-nationals want to keep their nation's culture and values alive, and they think that this different culture and too many Muslim immigrants harm their own nation's culture. Also, a lot of neo-nationalists are fine with Muslim immigrants as long as they integrate, which a lot don't, because a lot of Muslim immigrants don't even learn the official language and so on. Neo-nationals are also scared that their native populations are slowly being replaced by foreign ones. Anti-immigration itself does not inherently mean xenophobia, as the justification for it varies. For neo-nationals, immigration poses a threat to the system and current status quo, and the purpose of conservatism is to conserve the system that is in place. Hence why it is generally frowned upon by the neo-nationals. Anti-immigration can also, on the other hand, be used as a means of preserving national identities, lifestyles, cultures, traditions, etc. All of these do not imply direct fear or hatred of foreigners, rather a form of defense directed to the current system and norms. How does this, in contrast, differ to neo-fascist and fascist views on migrants? Neo-fascists and fascists view other races and ethnicities as parasites, uncivilized, inferior, and so on, while neo-nationalists support cooperation with Muslim and African countries as long as it benefits them. They are fine with any person, whether they are Muslim, Black, Arab, or something else. And neo-nationals, especially like migrants who integrate into European culture and do work hard for their country, while neo-fascists and fascists want to completely eradicate whatever they see as parasites, uncivilized, inferior, and so on. Even if they integrate into European culture, one of the best examples which proves this is Hungary. According to the 2011 Hungarian census, there were 5,579 Muslims in Hungary, making up only about 0.057% of the total population. Of these, 97, which are 73.4%, declared themselves as Hungarian, while 2,369, 42.5%, as Arab by ethnicity. In Hungary, people can declare more than one ethnicity, some is greater than the whole. Data from 2011 does not show the Turkish population, which was 1,565 in the 2001 census. However, the majority of Muslims in Hungary are of Arab or Turkish origin. Moreover, there is also a growing number of ethnic Hungarians converts to Islam. The actual number of Muslims in Hungary seems to be largely above 5,579 Muslims, following an important influx of asylum seekers since 2014. As there's as there arrived about 200,000 asylum seekers in Hungary, largely from Muslim countries like Afghanistan and Syria. Okay, so not only that, but Marine Le Pen, the leader of the French neo-nationalist party, the Front National, who has been called a neo-fascist more than possibly any other neo-nationalist in Europe. In a BBC interview, she even stated the following about Muslims: French people and people of different origins. Quote unquote, "We are not going to welcome any more people. Stop, we are full up. And that is not the question. I don't judge people based on their religion. I'm not interested. I'm in favor of secularism. It's really important to me. I believe that it is part of France's identity. So we judge people, French people, obviously, based on the way they respect the law, the French constitution, but never based on their religion. For me, some people refuse to accept the French constitution or to comply with French laws. If they refuse to comply with our codes, our values, our French lifestyles, well, we will act accordingly, but we should not take into account, once again, their religion, no more than their gender or their origin." Considering that she is one of the biggest victims of being called a neo-fascist in the media, this is quite shocking to hear that she would even treat French people the same way as others who do not integrate. This shows that neo-nationalists are not Islamophobic or xenophobic racists, but are just people who want to preserve their culture. There are of course some neo-nationalist parties which are neo-fascist or at least close to it, but this is really rare and is mostly not even part of mainstream media, mainstream neo-nationalist parties. Marine Le Pen is not the only example of something like this. We all know that many people want to ban hijabs. It is a headscarf which Muslim women wear. The German neo-nationalist party, the AfD, which is also a very big victim of the neo-fascist slandering, made a very surprising statement about this. On their website, they once posted an article about this. I will directly quote it. The integration political spokesman of the AfD group, Hanno Bachmann, has welcomed today's headscarf verdict of the Berlin Neighborhood Court. Of course, the neutrality law must be applied to elementary schools. That part of the Senate, in particular the Senator for Justice, has wished for another verdict, speaks volumes and shows the abstruse and ideology-driven understanding of law of the left-wing government parties. Fortunately, the Labour judges have now set a clear signal against religious or ideological confessions of female teachers in public schools. They are in line with the European Court of Justice, which has already clearly stated that the prohibition on wearing a religiously inspired headscarf is entirely compatible with European law. Anything else would be another downfall in front of a more and more aggressive current political Islam, whose outward sign of the oppression of women is the headscarf. The AfD stands with zero tolerance against any further Islamization of our city. That's why, in line with the Austrian model, we are also for a general headscarf ban in kindergartens in elementary schools, and kindergartens for girls who are out of the religious maturity. End quote. What is the religious maturity? Religious maturity is linked to the attachment of a certain age, right of a child or youth, even about his confessional or religion to decide. In Germany, religion is regulated by the law on religious parenting of the 15th July 1921. From the age of 10, the child is to be heard if it is to be educated in a different confession than before. From the age of 12, a child may no longer be educated against his will in a different confession than before. At the age of 14, Germany has unlimited religious competence. The term of religion includes both the right to withdraw from the previous community or denomination, as well as the right to convert, with admittance of the religion. The adolescent can decide independently whether he wants to participate in the religious education or not. In Bavaria and the Saarland, however, parental consent to refrain from religious instruction is required until the age of 18. In short, this means that the AFD supports the right to wear a hijab. However, they think that before girls reach the religious maturity age, the age of 14, they can't wear hijabs. But as soon as they turn 14, they can wear hijabs, with the exceptions of Saarland and Bavaria, where the religious maturity age is 18. This, in fact, is even falling into correlation with Islam. Quote unquote. Who wears the veil and at what age? The age at which women begin wearing the veil varies with the culture. In some societies, wearing a veil is limited to married women. In others, girls begin wearing the veil after puberty as part of a rite of passage, indicating they are now adults. End quote. Dear friends, dear comrades, there is nothing to fear about neo-nationalists. They just want to preserve the culture, while also granting rights to minorities who integrate. There of course might be some neo-fascists and fascists in the neo-nationalist party, but that's usually around 1% of the party only. And everyone who publicly is a neo-fascist or a fascist or was taking part in the neo-fascist party is in 99% of cases, when it comes to neo-nationalist parties, not allowed to enter their party. Let me give the neo-nationalist party, the AfD in Germany, for example, let me give some examples. For example, Alexander Gauland, the leader of the neo-nationalist party, the AfD in Germany, was once told that a person who was in the NPD, a German neo-Nazi party, once wanted to join the AfD. Alexander Gauland replied with, "This case is settled for me. I say very clearly, the NPD is not allowed in our party. We have an incompatibility and we have legal guidelines and we stick to it. I do not want to experience this action. If we do not make this a thing, I beg you, Mr. Neumann, to withdraw from your conjecture." So we need to settle a few more questions. How is calling the Muslim immigration and invasion not Islamophobic or xenophobic? As we know, many neo-nationals, such as Marine Le Pen and Alexander Gauland, and national conservatives like Viktor Orban and Matteo Salvini, often talk about a Muslim invasion. Well, the Muslim invasion argument is not inherently racist or xenophobic, as it mainly has to do with a very self-centered outlook on wanting to preserve cultures as they are rather than pure hatred of foreigners. And in fact, 42% of children in West Germany under the age of 6 are of migrant background. Dear friends, dear comrades, only because a neo-nationalist party has a neo-fascist past doesn't mean that they are neo-fascist. Believe it or not, but Marine Le Pen's party, the Front National, was funded by a Holocaust denier who was often accused of neo-fascism and cooperated with other neo-fascists all across Europe. However, only because the Front National has dark past doesn't mean that it has a dark present. Marine Le Pen has reformed the party and now it's pretty modernized. We also saw that her behavior is different from the one of her father, the founder of the Front National. She even kicked him out of her own party. There are many examples like this. There is the FPO in Austria, which was founded by a Nazi, Anton Reinhaller, who used to be a Brigade Führer and a member of the Nazi Party, Nazi Germany's ruling party. But today the party is nothing even near fascism. Today the FPO is fine with girls wearing hijabs from the age of 14 on, like the AFD. They are also fine with immigrants living in their country as long as they integrate. An article on the FBO website says, quote unquote, humanity dictates that political asylum should be granted granted in our country for those persecuted for racist, religious or political reasons, provided there is need for such protection. Legal and legitimate immigrants who are already integrated, who can speak the German language, who fully acknowledge our values and laws and have set down cultural roots, should be given the right to stay and obtain citizenship. End quote. Dear friends, as you can see, those parties are not even close to what they once used to be. If somebody like Anton Reinhaller would know what happened to his party, he would turn in his grave around. And not only that, did you know that some national conservative and neo-nationalist parties have liberal pasts? Correct. Let us take the Northern League in Italy as an example. The drift of the Northern League was really curious. The original program had been strongly and explicitly liberal, according to one source. Now, we have finished with neo-nationalism. Let us now go through what other nationalist ideologies there are. Pan-nationalism, unifying one ethnicity or race which is split into many. Examples: Pan-Africanism. This is a pan-nationalist ideology, which is about unifying Africa. Pan-Arabism, Pan-Germanism, Pan-Irishism, you get the point. Irredentism, invading lost land back. Examples: Irish irredentism. It is about unifying Ireland and is basically the same as Pan-Irishism. Armenian irredentism, Serbian irredentism. That should be enough. Okay, I hope that you know a lot about neo-nationalist parties now and what neo-nationalists are, including national conservatives. Okay, so I believe that we should listen to each other, okay? So misconceptions like this don't happen. And so people like Iconoclast, who are totally innocent, don't get banned. Okay. This is a very long video, okay? I hope you will share this, like and subscribe. And if you're neo-nationals or national conservatives yourself, I am glad that you clicked in here.